Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Los Angeles Chronicles, episode 4. Kind of want to touch base on the had a tough week. Hope everybody's week went smoother than mine, but I actually got in trouble at work the other day for not being able to finish, and we had to bring back like a whole cart full of stuff from we were delivering in La Cañada. Bring back the whole cart with the Vizio TV and whatnot, and then the next day I tried something different and loaded up the van a different way with like double stacked on the shelves or whatever. So it worked out good, and I didn't wear myself out as much. So the past 2 days have been a little bit better, but it took me like most of today just to feel normal again. And now it's about 9 o'clock at night. So this episode is titled, I guess it's titled "How I Joined a Hippie Om Chanting Cult in L.A." So Om Chanting is, I actually heard it's not meditation, it's Om chanting. It's like chanting like more like a religious kind of thing. But I'm no expert. I just know the basics, and I'm gonna like share my story of how I got into it, and later got more serious with this group that I joined, formerly known as Bakti Marga, I guess association Bakti Marga. I don't know how many like different Indian Hindu groups there are, but or how many like masters there are of this, but what I do is I just tell you what I know and what I experienced, and I don't lie about anything. So that's one of my strong points is I don't lie. Maybe I omit things. Is omitting lying? I don't know. Maybe I need to work on that. So anyway, where we at? Okay, hippie Om chanting cult. I was the only one that called it a cult, and I kind of got busted for that too. But let me see. Let's go back to in 2015. I met a very interesting lady at work, and actually we became good friends, and later on like dated or whatever. But it was more like friendship. So it was to the point where I was a vendor at work, and I was a Coca-Cola vendor. So I go to different stores, and then she worked at the regular store that I would go to, which was the Ralph store, and it became fun to go to work like kind of like when we all used to work in the grocery store together at John's Marketplace and Valley Village. Like we were all like really good friends after work. So when I met her, it was like going to work became fun again. So I was always interested in the meditation. So she actually knew, or I wanted to learn, but I just didn't know what to do. So a good friend of her family was like a guy, and he was into yoga and meditation and the Bakti Marga group or whatever, and he had like he was a disciple of Guruji or Vishwananda. I forgot to say his full name, Vishwananda. So his Dharma name was Scott Gadadara Das, and I'd heard of him, and I've seen like pictures of him on Facebook, and he was always like, guy was like 60 years old, but he was in shape, like six pack abs, and he still had like blonde hair, and I don't even think he dyed his hair, and he could like do all these yoga poses, and he taught yoga in the park and in Hollywood in the morning. And at first I was intimidated because I thought he looked like a real intense guy, but I would ask my friend if he knew anything about like meditation, because I was getting stressed out at work, and then to deal with my problems I used to it actually got to the point where I started drinking on the weekends because I thought it would calm my nerves, but later on I quit, and we'll get more into that, I guess. But I said I was watching like, heard about famous people meditating on YouTube, like Rick Rubin and Jerry Seinfeld and Russell Simmons, and they're talking about like TM, transcendental meditation, and she's like, yeah, just ask him, and but I didn't know how to find him. But anyway, there was fast forward to, I mean, 2018 was when I met that guy, and I went to the first Om chanting thing. So first Om chanting experiences was a big like pretty big experience. I mean, not experience, but it was just we were in like a huge yoga studio with 60 people, and little kids were in there, Om Chanting, and a bunch of like old ladies and hippies, and it was time to do it, and it was and I wasn't feeling it. I didn't like it, but actually, I forgot to say one thing. Before that, I was into some meditation, like breathing, and it was I guess it was mindfulness, but I used to just sit there on some kind of like thing I got from a roommate. It's called like a mala or something. I think just sit on the floor, not even in full lotus, but just sit there with a bunch of candles and Japanese flutes, and then just try to breathe and breathe in and out. And it sounds stupid, but it actually, my roommate said she could tell I was doing it with the breathing, and I was more relaxed and not as angry and irritated. So I'm all about anybody doing that if it helps you, and if drinking on the weekends helps you too, go do that. But for me, it was that calm my nerves, because everybody knows I'm a pretty hyper person, and I've even gotten in trouble at work, like with some anger stuff in the past. So thank God it's not like that anymore. So anyway, I was doing that, and this first Om Chanting thing, I wasn't feeling it. So I actually was busting my ass that day, and I went to work, and then I went to Om Chanting later, and it was good to see my friend and everybody, and meet that guy. But I ended up falling asleep. So then he came and woke me up, and he said, "Hey, wake up, bro. Yeah, it's okay. I used to be like a real bad tweaker, bro." And I was like, "Okay, this guy's pretty intense." And then after it was over, we was just kind of making fun of it. And I was like, "Hey, how'd it work out?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's all right. Om." And so what it is everybody kind of like invokes spirits or whatever, and there's some kind of introduction to it, and it has to do with Guruji and Babaji. So they said Guruji is Babaji, just reincarnated into like a person in the flesh that you can actually meet and you bow to, and I guess you can take refuge with them. I don't know if that's the case, but anyway, it was Babaji, and you do the introduction, and then you just start and going to Om Chanting for about 45 minutes. And I know that's kind of like a weird thing to do, but people are into it, so actually I heard, speaking of famous people, I heard David Lee Roth is into it, and he would never even come down to Om Chanting with us. So it was, you take in like a deep breath at first, and then Om, try the best to keep that going for a good 45 minutes. And of course it sounds stupid, and of course you don't want to be there at first, and your mind's everywhere. But the thing about that is your mind calms down, and the thoughts subside, kind of like a lake with the ripples or whatever, and then everything's all smooth. So your thoughts are like the waves, and then they erase. Thoughts diminish, and then you will be calm. And sometimes, or actually I don't want to get into the experiences until later. This is the first one. So anyway, after that we went to go get some vegetarian veggie grill or whatever. We went there and took pictures, and it was fun. Excuse me, I think the headphones hit the microphone right there. Okay, the guy Gadadhar Das, he was like the hustling type, the kind that he was real good at getting people together and getting people to hang out together. And because he was from a small town like St. Louis, Missouri, I think, and then he played music, bass guitar, and kind of reminded me of people from where I'm from Florence, because we used to all hang out together more. I don't know about what they do now, but he's like, "Hey, you should come back, man. Om Chanting it'll be good for you. You should come back." And I'm like, "Nah, it's not my thing. I'd rather just meditate in my room by myself with the candles and the Japanese flute and breathing." And he said, "Yeah, okay." And then I don't know what made me want to come back, but I ended up coming back. And the next time was at the same yoga studio, but it wasn't 50 or 60 people. It was probably 7 people at the most. So it was all right, and but I still couldn't really get into it. Didn't know what I was doing, but after that, I remember there's this guy. He was named Deva, and he's like the head guy that emails everybody if their master is going to be around or in town from Germany. So their master's in Germany, and that's Guru Ji or Vishwananda, and he's on YouTube and everything too. And I never met him, but apparently he knew who I was. And then they said the reason, like, while I was there, was because I knew the girl from work, and then we were really close friends, and she knew Scott, so that was like the connection. And otherwise, what am I gonna do? Just show up out of nowhere, or knew somebody, and then that was for a reason or something. So maybe I think they have some. There's some similarities in Buddhism and Hinduism, but they wouldn't call it Hinduism. They would call it They would really call it like religion less, but Om Chanting. I mean, what's in a word, right? But anyway, the guy Deva was he would play guitar, and we would sing the certain kind of Sanskrit kind of style where you would it was all slow, and then you would repeat it again, and I forgot the name of it, but I kind of got into that style, and he was really good. Of course he's good because he's got the same birthday as Johnny Cash anyway, and who doesn't love Johnny Cash? I mean, like old school people, like old school country people like him, metalheads like him. I mean, the guy's a legend, and there's no words. So he was really good. So basically I was like working at Coca-Cola, and working so hard. Got a job at the beer company in 2019, I think. I don't know if it's 2018. Yeah, 2019 is when I got fired from the beer company. So 2018 is when like the same billionaires bought out the Coca-Cola. So I pretty much transferred, and I was kind of going this Om Chanting stuff on a regular basis. And there's no time to talk about every damn one that I went to, but I went to a lot. If you add everything up, like I'm gonna share my story. So this is 2018 until 2021 was the last one I ever went to. So you could say that I've probably been to like 80 different Om chantings where we do that whole ritual of 45 minutes, and I got to meet a lot of interesting people, lot of musicians and everything. So some of the musicians were like Nora Keys and B Appleseed from Elf Freedom. They're on I'm just dropping their name because they're just really talented individuals on YouTube and everything. And let me see. That was with the most intense one that you go to was like once a month. They would have it in Hollywood, not Hollywood Hills, but picture if you're on Sunset and not too far away from like that Ralph's on Sunset, and if you keep on going that residential area. So there's this woman, she was like a Filipino jazz singer, and then she was married to a writer, and then they would have it at their house. And then so I'm gonna share like my most intense experience was when let's see, when one time we had Om Chanting there, and then I just remember, it was a tough day at work and everything, and there was traffic to get there. And then at first I kind of didn't want to be there, but then I was like, kind of coaching myself into it. Like, I was like, come on, let's kind of give it all you got. And then when I kind of got into that zone, I felt some kind of like spirit go into my soul and open up my heart or something, and it had to do with like forgiving someone that I couldn't forgive. And that was if you ever heard of this thing called like catfish on the internet, where people like lie to you on the internet, pretending to be like the woman of your dreams or somebody like telling you what you want to hear. And I was kind of holding on to that, and then some kind of, I don't know if it's the spirit said, "Hey, forgive the person" or something, and I just felt like a revolution inside my soul or something, and I started like like flipping out and crying, and had some kind of like some spirit, like intense spiritual experience. And then that was like my most intense experience from Om Chanting. And then later on, I told the guy Scott about it, and he said we were at the park the next week in West Hollywood, and he had like he's teaching the twins how to play guitar, and then we were all jamming, and he was like teaching the kids how to do pull-ups and stuff, and that was cool. And he said, "Hey, tell everybody what happened at the Om Chanting thing." And I said, I just told everybody my story. It's like, yes, see, that's why we do this, is so we can like heal ourselves and everything. And that's cool. I mean, that's still their path, and I don't even know if they're still doing Om. I mean, I'm assuming they're doing Om Chanting, and I mean, fast forward to what's going on now. Like their master actually like came to the Long Beach or came to L.A., and then they invited me, but I had to work that day, and I was gonna show up and show my face, but I had to work that day. So, but the thing is, if I did show up, then they would see like how I improved spiritually with you know the Chan meditation and Mahayana Buddhism, and then maybe think, or at least like, hey, he left us, but at least he's doing well with this, you know. So, uh, but yeah, the guy, the guy at the writer's house. He used to be like in a punk band and stuff, and play with I think the Circle Jerks and or some bands that you'd hear of, like Black Flag, that you'd heard of. So it was fun to just like hang out with people into music. And there's this one guy, he got into drugs, or I don't know if he was like on the tweak or whatever they call it, tweaking. And but he was like, he lived in Koreatown, and apparently like he slapped the shit out of Axl Rose in the 80s. And then that was what the guy Scott was hyping him up, like, hey man, this guy's like, he invented the Sunset Strip, man. He slapped the shit out of Axl Rose in the 80s, man. And then one time he just like instigated him to tell the whole story, and it lasted like an hour. And then there's this one girl that had the balls to say, like, will you hurry up and get to the point where you slapped Axl Rose, because we're listening to it for an hour. So basically the story had to do with somebody stealing some like huge mixing board from some apartment in Hollywood, and then he saw Axl Rose at like eating lunch at like the on the Sunset Strip. I forgot, like on the corner or something. And he goes out and he slaps him in the street. Like, I don't know. It's like the whole story lasts like an hour. Anyway, we ended up doing like a metal song with him. It was just me and him, but just to do that one song was a pain in the ass to work with him because of the communication, and you got me being bipolar or everything, or it was just like a communication gap, and it had to do with me not knowing how to program the drums. But anyway, if we did that now, it would have been better. So yeah, the girl I was friends with, her nephews were the twins, like, so it's called Twin Power. So we had a band called Twin Power, and this was like in 2019 and 2020. And we would teach them how to play guitar, and they would learn how to play guitar off of YouTube. So later on, we all ended up like being in a band and practiced at this blind institute for the blind, like Braille, in Hollywood, and that was fun. But episode's not about that. I'll talk about music. I'll get too into it, but it's more about the Om Chanting. So pretty much after that, I got more serious into it, and then we would even have it at my apartment, and I'd help out and help them move the statue or whatever, and get more serious into it. But I guess the next step would have been like me having a Dharma name, like his name, like same kind of style. Or they would draw these V's on his forehead, and I would actually meet the master. And he's talking about going to Germany, and that's expensive as hell just to go to Germany to see the master. I mean, we got master here, and I can see him, and then he goes to Korea, and so he's not here 2 months out of the year. But other than that, he's either here or in Northern California. But never did that as far as like being an actual disciple. But I think the guy did know he did know who I was, because we used to have this thing called a darshan. And what that is, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of like a Zoom meeting, but you'd go on a big TV, and then it would be, he has like a lot of followers, a lot of like mostly Caucasian followers in Canada and United States and in Europe too. So you would close your eyes for about a good 5 minutes, and then he would say, "Open your eyes," and then you'd open your eyes and just like stare in his eyes, and you're thinking, "Why am I staring at this Indian dude?" But at the same time, like after it's over, he supposedly clears the dust off of your mind and opens up your heart and your soul. So what they're about is they talk about love. Like that's their damn excuse for everything. Like, well, you have a problem, just love, or those were the two words, just love. Like, I have a lot of serious like anxiety. Oh, just love, brother. And I mean, I know I'm calling them hippies, but I mean, it's just a word. I can call myself a hippie because I said I love you and I hugged him too. So at the end of the day, you're gonna die anyway. So the thing is, like that darshan thing, it did help out, and I got like some spiritual experience. Like I felt like my heart open up or whatever. So yeah, we would have the Om chantings at my apartment, so I got more serious into it, and met a few new people after that, like some energy healers, light healers, and people in yoga. We would go to like Ashtanga yoga and Kundalini yoga, and we would have it on like a regular basis. And the most time you can do Om chanting is like maximum of like 3 times in the day, and then we would chant like Om Namo Narayanaya for 20 minutes. And what that is it's a chant. So it's like this. Om Namo Narayanaya. So picture doing that for about 20 minutes. And then whatever damn problem you have, hopefully you let go of it after that and you feel better. So that's the reason why we do it. And Om chanting, that was helping me out a lot. I mean, I was more calm, and I wasn't as like hard. What we do now is like the hardcore cultivation, but back then it was, hey, every little bit helps, and if that helps your job, or more power to you, because I mean I was working at Amazon then, but that was like 2020, and it was during the COVID era and everything. So we were basically doing that, and after it was over, it would be like I think he had a timer, or somebody would have the timer after 45 minutes, and then everybody would like rub their hands when it was over, like this, and then kind of breathe, and then we'd have a good 5 minutes of silence, and it was relaxing. And then, but at the same time, it's a bunch of beatniks and it's hippie too. So here you are, like rubbing, and then here's the silence, and like, I love you, brother, and then it's like, okay. And then so actually, I wanted to say something about the one time one of the head disciples, or the head guy from Germany, lived with the Guruji, and he came to L.A. and it was a big deal. Like, hey, let's go pick him up from the airport. And some dude with the orange robe and the big orange beard, and he was at this place in Pasadena that we used to do the Om chanting at. And then, but that was a big deal because you get to talk to him. So what it was is he was doing like some questions and talking about love and whatever. And then I had the damn problem, and I was like, okay, you talking about love? Like, what about this? Like, not everybody has the same beliefs, man. And I said that to him, and he just got pissed. And I said, you're talking about love. I have hatred. So it was like you couldn't even question him. So he just got like defensive and kind of pissed off. Like, everything has to do with love, bro. Or I don't know his exact words, but anyway, I got pissed off and left. I just stood up and I left, and the guy Scott he said, no, just let him go. Just let him go. So excuse me. That kind of had to do with me more rebelling, or kind of rebelling against it, but something was missing. So Om chanting was helping, but at the same time, like, it wasn't resonating, and there was something missing. So I kind of, plus I was kind of like the punk rocker out of all of them. I was more of I mean, we can see ourselves as the same or different, and we were all in a group together, but maybe it had to do with me kind of like wanting to be different anyway, or I'm metal, like what am I doing hanging out with them, or I wouldn't say that I'm closed-minded or anything, but it was it was like a part of my life. But anyway, it was had to do with like something was missing. So I think I started like looking up monks or something because monks had to do with meditation. And then, of course, you're going to see like a famous monk if you go on the internet or YouTube or whatever. And then, that's actually going to be like, different podcasts because this actually has to do with how I found what I got like really serious into it. Like what really changed my life was, Buddhism. So, um, what I'm trying to say is like that was kind of like the start of me leaving the group. But before I get into that, I wanted to talk about how I became vegetarian. So that was like an intense like life I don't know, life changing, but that's a big like life change when you do that. And two people had something to do with me making that change. Not like they were like, I mean, they just suggested it, but one of them was that guy David that played guitar. And then, okay, one Om Chanting we had, it was in Silver Lake or Echo Park on the main, I think it was on Sunset and Echo Park at the pet thing where you rent out like the studio again. And it was just me and him and Scott. And then we had Om Chanting. See, the hard thing about Om Chanting, if you have like two people or three people, is if somebody runs out of breath, then somebody else has to be there to Om too, so you don't break the Om. So if you're like Om, and then you're running out of breath, somebody else has to back you up like Om. So at that particular session, which I'll never forget, we were doing that. So three guys, and I just remember every Om Chanting would be like my mind was everywhere and racing or thinking about 100 different things. But after 20 or 25 minutes into it, I would calm down. So that one, it was intense. And um, after it was over, we did the moment of silence. And then Deva, he wanted to talk about animals and everything because that was at the pet place or the PETA that he rented out. And we would donate money wherever we could. But I mean, of course, I mean, they would even ask me for money too. So they'd also tell me what I want to hear too. So, but he was talking about, he said, and most of the time, like my mind kind of turns off when we go into something I don't want to hear. But at this particular Om session, I was like, man, let's just listen to him. I'm kind of relaxed. And he said, see, this is a vegan calculator I have. This is how many days I've gone without eating meat. And look, I added it up. Like I saved like 400 cows, bro. I saved this many animals by not eating meat. That's awesome. So he was acting like that, and then he said something else. I mean, and then he said like, see, animals have souls, bro. I'm like, okay, let's just listen to him, And it wasn't like a beat down, like you need to be vegetarian, but it was I had to do like let's try it out because like my homegirl in Europe kind of got me into it too because she said, hey, you're into meditation, let's try some like the fasting or the intermittent fasting. So, but she was kind of brutal though too because at the same time that's like she was like the we were in the punk rock cult in the late 90s and then she turned like straight up European death metal and she would say stuff that would just piss people off, like, you stupid Americans, you keep on eating meat, or you keep on doing this, or I don't know if she said that, but she sent me this fasting documentary, and it was made by some Europeans. I don't know if they're what country they were from, but that was an intense documentary too, and they're talking shit about McDonald's and how they're like the fast food nation and whatnot, but I liked it, so I tried it out, and it also had to do with me being cheap too, because I was like, hey, if I can quit eating meat and quit eating so much food, then I can save money too, and that's what happened. So yeah, so I tried that, and then I looked different, and lost some weight, and lost some muscle too, which is whatever, and then went from a size medium to size extra small, went from size like 32 to size like 29, and then what else happened? For me personally, like when I did that, I went through like a detox with like a 4-day detox of emotions, and it was like an emotional kind of thing. And I'll tell that guy Deva about it, and uh, I thanked him too for kind of for getting me into it too. So not telling everybody else to do it, but I mean, it's good to be open minded, and probably open minded if you're even listening to this. We're talking about Om Chanting. I mean, that's weird anyway. Like, who the hell gets together, even if it's 5 people, and be like, Om. And I quit doing Om Chanting, by the way. It's been a good 2 years. No, actually, 2021 was the last one I went to, and I'll talk about that a little bit too. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, here's another dark part of the story. Is there's this crazy woman that used to come in my house. Her name is Vidya Vani, and not too many people liked her. She wasn't like the more likable type. She would, start shit and tell people what to do, and she got kicked out of the ashram in Germany. So I didn't like the fact that Scott was suggested her as a roommate to me, because I think a good roommate for me would be like somebody that works their ass off, and that's actually the minority in LA as far as like the 9 to 5 job. It's more of the gig kind of job, and then you learn that later. Like, I mean, I got maybe this work ethic I got is like from South Carolina, but when you're here for a while, it's more of people that keep jobs like that are few and far between. So anyway, he suggested her as a roommate, and that wasn't like an option anyway. But she would come to my Om Chantings, so we had Om Chanting at my apartment, and then she tried to convert me, and she tried to like sell me to go to the ashram in Germany, and I don't like people trying to convert me. So, and she said it wasn't meditation, it was like Om Chanting. But anyway, some woman got into it and cussed her out at some other Om Chanting, and I wish I was there. But and then actually, I wish I would have cussed her out myself too. Looking back, that probably would have been better rather than me like writing the song about her and putting her on YouTube. That's kind of a smart ass thing to do, but it's in the past. So one night she pissed me off, and then I just kind of like looked the other way, or went in the corner and talked to somebody else. But I thought it'd be funny to write a song. The song's called Vidya Vani Got Kicked Out the Ashram, and it's a punk song, and I recorded the video and put it on YouTube. But it was after I bought the ticket to the retreat, so they had a retreat in Seattle, and I already bought the plane ticket, and then they didn't let me stay there because somebody found the YouTube video, and then the woman called me, and she was like really scared of me, and she said it was disturbing, and she was like, I have a kid, or like she thought I was gonna hurt the kid. I'm like, it's a damn song. I mean, what the hell do you listen to if you can't take that? And maybe it had to do with the way I was theatrical and acting in the song, but it was like, Vidya Vani, got kicked out of the ashram. Vidya Vani, she worships Satan. Vidya Vani, and then the lyrics were really funny about how she got kicked out, and this and that. So anyway, they found that, and they wanted to know who I was or who I knew that from the Bakti Marga group. I said, yeah, I know Scott, and then he couldn't really back me up with that, and then after that, I kind of like lost even more respect and interest in the group, because I was being petty too. I was like, oh, what about when I helped you and I helped you move the Indian statue, and what about what I did for you and whatever. And I thought we were gonna be, but they got Deva still sent the emails and everything, and I didn't want to go back to the Om Chanting. So, and plus I was more serious with Buddhism, so it was like you got to pick I mean, that's a no-brainer for me anyway. So, because I won't even have time to do like 2 different things anyway. And my teacher was Venerable Shinshin. She said, yeah, you should, I mean, you're probably going to want to just come here anyway and not like go to the other stuff. And I mean, she was probably using her wisdom for that, because I was losing interest in it. And because I would go to the Om Chanting and think like, yeah, you guys aren't as hardcore enough for me, and I'm Chan meditation. And it kind of reminded me of the Kung Fu film. It was like the Shaolin versus Wu-Tang, where they would like, I forgot the name, the basic of the story is like 2 schools against each other. So So that was pretty cool. And then Scott kept on inviting me to Koreatown, and if you live in LA, like going to Koreatown's a total pain in the ass. I'm still kind of traumatized from going there and not being able to park, and then but it can be fun. But he was last time I saw him was at his birthday party, and then I went in there and I did some of the Om Chanting, so that was the last Om Chanting I went to. So here we are, and you take off your shoes and you go in there and you feel the vibe, strong energy. And then after that, I could see, if I could say in words, it might not make sense, but I could see how like my ego calmed down. I mean, I still have an ego, but you could see like other egos are more impatient, or more over the top, or out of control and not as in control. And then I told one of the venerables with us about that, and they said, no, they haven't changed. You're the one that's changed. It's because of the Chan meditation. So anyway, that was like the last one I went to, and that was at his birthday party. I don't know if it was like 61st birthday party or something. And then he would invite me to Koreatown, and then he would say like, hey, what's up with you? How come you haven't talked to me in a couple months? And then that's when I kind of flipped out, because it had to do with him not working and lying to the government about taking care of somebody. And one time I didn't have a job, and then it was him and this screwed up Dr. Kira, like tried to get me in on this like welfare fraud or something, and that's against my morals and my beliefs, and it has to do with like, man, if you're gonna like lie about your job or lie to the government, then I mean I can't even hang out with you. So just told him straight up and told him what he didn't want to hear, and it was kind of like a test, and then he failed that test, and then I said he's too comfortable where he's at, and if you ever tell somebody that, then they become hostile. So he cussed me out pretty hard, and he was talking about like, hey, I used to bust my ass with the jackhammer and sledgehammer at 6 o'clock in the morning for years, and I went to jail in the penitentiary or something for like 10 years and this and that. And I mean, what the fuck ever, so, but you go from like him being like my spiritual brother or anything to that, to now I don't want to talk to you because you're like lying about your job, and that's against my beliefs. So the way I look at life is like an adventure, and it's like a journey, and some people are going to be in your life and then they're going to leave your life, and it is what it is. I mean, and it also had to do with like my best friend dying, and I was thinking, well, he died, and how come you're still around? Why couldn't it have been you? Maybe that's a shitty thing to think, but I was like, hey, how come you're bugging me, and then I don't have him anymore, So I did think that. I'm just being real. So he did that, and he cussed me out and didn't even apologize. And then I think he still had my number, and he's inviting me to see their master that still came to LA recently, 2 months ago. And like I said, I was gonna go there to show my face, and then if he wants to fight me, then whatever. But I don't think they do that. They're all about love, right? So that's pretty much the end of that. And then, did I leave anything out? Wrote some stuff down right here. Yeah, I'm the one that's changed, and then they stayed the same. So my group, where I'm at now, I've seen people just change and keep on moving up and move up, and then they want to be stagnated, and that's probably as far as they go. As far as like, I don't know what level their master is. Guruji, maybe he's eighth samadhi or eighth level. But his whole thing was like, they wanted to impress people and get people to follow him. The guy can make gold ring appear in his hand when you go to Germany and bow down to him. He makes a gold ring appear, and I've seen about 4 or 5 disciples wear the gold ring. So I'm glad that never happened to me. I never saw this ring appear, or else I would have been one of their followers too, and it wasn't for me. And we talk about that where I'm at now. Like, if you have to impress people with spiritual penetration or penetration to make things appear, or basically make things like manifest. And I've seen crazy stuff. I'm not even gonna get into it, but not gold rings appear in somebody's hand. But I've seen some stuff so far that's kind of scared me and intrigued me, but or made me believe. But not gonna get into that right now. So thanks for listening to the episode. There's actually I'm excited about tomorrow because oh yeah, there's two new things with the podcast. We're now on YouTube from rss.com. Actually put it on YouTube and made it look even cooler than I could have done. And kind of like I actually bought the microphone today off of eBay and Reverb, some headphones, the microphone for the guest. So I know it's been just me for the first 4 episodes, but tomorrow I'm gonna have like basically like a family member to be on a episode. And he's not my real brother, but he's kind of like my little brother from South Carolina, you know, because we grew up together from since I was like 5 years old, and he's younger. So he's I think it's really interesting that he's come to LA and pursued his music career and done so much with him and his brother, and we collaborated together too. So we're gonna talk about him tomorrow. And before I leave, I like to give recommendations. So, Band of Outsiders by John Locke Goddard, or did I say his name right? From the '60s, like film noir, whatever you want to call it, but pretty good and original if you watch the whole thing. I think I've seen it about 4 times now. I used to not like the foreign films where they have the subtitles where you read the whole damn movie, but now I mean it's been raining in LA, and I kind of got in the mood for it, and it's really good. It has to do with a robbery, and um, it's not as fast paced as Breathless, but it's really great. And who's the one? Anna Karina, yeah, great actress. What else? Thrice, the artist in the Ambulance. I never listened to him, but I dug it. I heard it, and the whole album. Yeah, kind of missed out on it from 2002 or 2003. AZ, Do or Die. 1995, New York, raw hip hop. Missed out on that one too. Slept on that. So he was on Nas, like Life's a Bitch and Then You Die, like that. That was him and his whole album. I got Do or Die too. That one's good too. And then been listening to Mexican music on the way home and from work in the van. I mean, no, not on the way home from work, but on the way back to the station. And I like the whole vibe because I don't like the vibe in the houses where I deliver to, but it changed the whole vibe. I liked it. Ill Bill, La Bella Medusa by Ill Bill from 2020. I'd put it up there with the Grammy Awards from 2013. That was a great album. And he's got some great special guests, and I'd even go back and listen to it again. So yeah, check him out. Thanks for listening. Shout out to everybody across the world, my people across the world. Thanks for listening. Los Angeles Chronicles. Tomorrow it's gonna if it works out tomorrow, that's gonna be episode 5. So check us out. All right, peace out.